Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some easy, delicious ladyfingers. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350, line 2 baking sheets of parchment paper, and we're gonna be separating eggs. We're using the egg yolks and the egg whites, and don't get them mixed up. Egg whites are going into a little bowl just in case we have a broken yolk. That was close. That was very close. As you go, dump each egg white into a large bowl. You can buy ladyfingers at the store, but making them is actually really fun and they're just that much more delicious. I love having ladyfingers just like dipped in espresso in the morning. It's a really nice treat. But of course, you'll need some ladyfingers when you're making tiramisu, so important, and you can make it all from scratch if you want. 3 yolks, 3 egg whites, nothing broke, there's no shells, it's all perfect. I'm adding a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar to the egg yolks, that's 50 grams. Basically, it's half of the sugar for the yolks, half of the sugar for the whites, and then we're gonna combine them at the end. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt for contrast, and half a teaspoon of vanilla, that's just a little blessing. There we go. I'm gonna beat this on medium speed until it's pale and fluffy. It'll be just a few minutes. If you haven't had ladyfingers before, they're really delightful. It's a very light, airy cookie. It's crisp on the outside, slightly soft in the middle, and it's giving you kind of almost a biscotti vibe, but a little bit less intense on the crunchiness. They're great for dipping, and oftentimes you'll use them in a dessert like tiramisu, just to give you some structure, partially soak up some flavors, and make delicious things happen. So right now we're beating some air into the mixture. I'm also helping to dissolve the granulated sugar, and you're lightening things up too. You want to pump some volume into here because we're gonna fold the egg whites in later, and you wanna have a nice fluffy mixture. This is too dense right now. I'm gonna clean these mixers off really quickly. Squeaky clean. All right, trade your bowls out. If you want, you could definitely use a stand mixer with a whisk attachment for this, but I find this to be easier just with a hand mixer. I would not have liked to make these in the 15th century when they were invented because it's so much whisking. Whisking by hand would be crazy. Now we're gonna beat the egg whites, and here's the deal. Start off slow. Once they're nice and frothy, we have a 1/4 cup of sugar to add in, but you're not gonna dump it in. Technically, this is a French meringue we're making at this moment, and that's just egg whites and sugar mixed together. If you dump the sugar in, you're gonna deflate the whites. It's not gonna dissolve properly, and your meringue just isn't gonna have that lovely texture we love. Instead, you're gonna casually drizzle this in just a little bit at a time. This is a take your time moment, so don't rush it. Unlike a lot of cookies that we make, like a chocolate chip cookie or, all those things that have a little bit of leavener in them, like baking soda or baking powder, this is a very, very old type of cookie. So it originated around France, but they didn't have any baking soda or baking powder. They had egg whites. And if you ever wanted to get a fluffy dessert, be it a cake or a cookie or anything else, you're gonna be whisking egg whites until they have millions of little bubbles in them. And then in the oven, those bubbles expand as they get hot, and it puffs things up. I was going really slow. That was too low. Mix on high. So for this, I want to see softer peaks forming, but it's on the firmer side of soft, and I'll show you what that looks like. That's the last little bit of sugar. So now I'm just gonna mix this until I see that stiffness come together. And of course, if you're making a meringue, you always wanna have nice, clean beaters and a very clean bowl. Well, 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 I want to show you how fluffy these are. Gonna grab this, and you can see I have little peaks forming. Actually, that's too soft. I lied to you. Never mind. Keep mixing. I wanted to see a soft peak form, but see how that's not even keeping its shape? It's just really drippy. We're getting close, but it's not there yet. Back to mixing. Just imagine if this was by hand. Okay, let's take a look now. That's what you want to see. So I have a peak that's not completely stiff. It's a little bit floppy, but it's definitely holding its shape. This looks great, but our egg yolks are looking a little sad now, so we're gonna give them just a few seconds of beating. I just wanna wake it back up because the egg whites can kind of separate and you get a little bit of a liquid situation on the bottom. Now we're gonna fold the egg whites into the egg yolks. I'll use this like 3 batches. The first batch is the most satisfying. See that beautiful yellow-white situation, but you're gonna lose some of the bubbles. This happens because one mixture is much thicker than the other. Once you see almost no streaks, keep it up. If this looks a little loose right now, don't panic because we are gonna be adding some flour and cornstarch to this. This is not just an egg cookie. There is some flour. The last little bit of egg whites are coming out. If you see any lumps in here, that's gonna be a lump of egg white. Like, that's egg whites right there. So you'll wanna break that up so we have a nice even mixture. I'm quickly gonna measure out 1 cup of flour, it's 120 grams, 5 teaspoons of cornstarch, that's a tablespoon plus 2 teaspoons, in case you wanted to know. Now we're gonna sift this out, so I'm gonna sift and fold, sift and fold. If you just dump the flour in, it could definitely be lumpy. In this way, you kind of like have less on the lump side. One thing is you definitely don't want to overmix your batter because that deflates the egg whites and the egg yolks. All the little bubbles are going to go away and your ladyfingers won't puff up, they'll be dense. Fold that in and you can see this got so much more like just there's structure to it now, so I know I can pipe it out. I just want to see that there's no streaks of flour remaining and I'm being so gentle with this batter. Perfect. Now we're going to transfer this to our piping bag. Large round tip, you could use a 1A. This is an 809. I have my 2 baking sheets lined with parchment paper. If you want to be perfect and have everything exactly right, you can draw little 4-inch lines right on the parchment paper and flip it over. You don't want pencil marks on your food. So I lent my pencil to Lachlan and George so they could do their homework last night. I'm just gonna fold the lines as a guide. Never overfill a piping bag. This is fine. I'm gonna use this to glue my paper down so it doesn't move too much. Now we're gonna pipe 4-inch little logs that are about 1 inch thick. So start, pipe, and end. You'll get better as you continue. It's gonna be a little bit rough at first. Pipe, stop adding pressure, and pull back, just like that. The ladyfingers are not like the most beautiful cookie in the world, so don't worry if yours are like a little bit oblong or have a little moment of being wonky, it's fine. Once you've piped both sheets, we're gonna bake these one at a time, and the secret is a liberal dusting of powdered sugar. Our ladyfingers are ready to go into the oven 1 batch at a time for 12 to 15 minutes at 350 or until they're slightly golden and firm to the touch. In you go. For the ultimate pleasure, grab some espresso or hot chocolate, give them a dip. They're so much better than store-bought. Really soft on the inside, crisp outer shell, and oh my gosh, just delicious. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my cookie playlist.